Good afternoon. My name is Marion Dobbins, and I am an intern at George Mason University for the Folk Life Department. And we are here at Ms. Baker's house in Arlington, Virginia, where I'm going to be interviewing her for the National Archives Northern Virginia Civil Rights Initiative that was created by Congressman Gerald Connolly. And this archive is to collect oral histories from those persons who were involved in the civil rights movement during the 1950s and the 1960s. And we're doing this because this is the 50th anniversary of, or the commemoration of the signing of the Civil Rights Act. So Ms. Baker, I want to thank you on behalf of Congressman Connolly, George Mason University, the Library of Congress, and the public libraries at George Mason, Prince William County, and Fairfax County. I want to thank you for taking the time to speak with me.
Okay.
Well, we want to get started. We're here in your apartment today, and we want to start first with you giving us your full name, your year of birth, and where you were born.
Sallie Johnson Baker. I was born in Halifax, North Carolina, in the city or town of Littleton. My year of birth is 1947.
So let's start with Littleton. What was it like growing up in Littleton?
I lived in the country. I didn't live uptown. Okay, I lived in the country, and I spent most of my time there. I was a kid, so in the country when you're a kid, you don't do a lot of things that you would do here. Nothing was close, but it was a good childhood. I went to a segregated school, elementary through high school. I never thought about that. I just never thought about it. I got a lot of black history growing up, so I was very proud to be black. Well, or Negro, as we were called then. And I just never thought about the fact that my school was not integrated at that time. I actually didn't think about it until the Civil Rights Movement.
So what was your schooling like? Did you have used books? What were the buildings like?
I can give you, I had a biology teacher, Mr. Gould, who used to say to us, we have one microscope. The white school has 15, but they have dust on them. When you leave here, you're going to know how to use it. That was what it was like. The books were used, but actually, you just actually never thought about it. We were kids. We never thought about it. When I participated in the Civil Rights Movement, I was 15 years old. So I didn't have a lot of time at that time to think about it. It was during and after that I thought about it.
Well, let's talk about when you were 15 and you started in the Civil Rights Movement. What did you do?
My aunt said to us, 3 of my sisters and me, we're going to go to Enfield tomorrow. And we're going to go participate you're going to participate in a march. And we were, okay. I went to bed. I had no idea what was going to happen the next day, which was a Saturday. This was like a Friday, at the dinner table, and then Saturday. I never even thought of what this march was going to be. A lot of detail didn't go into it. And 2 of my sisters were older than me. They actually were more aware of what we were going to be doing than I was. When we got up, we went to Enfield. And we met at Cofield Funeral Home in Enfield.
And Enfield is?
Enfield, North Carolina.
Okay.
That's the town,
okay.
The city where we did the demonstrations.
Okay.
And we went to the funeral home, and then we went across the street to this lady named Miss Mary Alice, who went to her house. I can't remember her last name at all. And there we got instructions on what we were supposed to do. We were supposed to keep our eyes straight ahead, lock elbows, lock arms. And if and when, and they assured us that they would, the police came, we were just to fold. We were not to talk to anyone. We were not to do anything but sing, "We Shall Overcome." And then we were doing it because the movie theater did not allow blacks in the theater. We closed the theater. Rather than do that, they closed that theater. Then we went to the drugstore, the grocery store, Myers grocery store. I can't remember the name of the drugstore now. But that was what we were supposed to do. And we would be there a certain amount of time. We got taunted, all kinds of things happened. And the police did come, and we would fold. My sister and I were too young to be put in the jail. So we were put upstairs in the courtroom. And the stairs had, the courtroom had, you went up the steps, and they had the spindle stairs. We could hear them down in the cells. When they got you out of the cars or trucks or dragging you by hand, however they took you, you stood in front of someone was sitting at a table, and they asked you your name and your age, and you gave it to them. And if you were just, my sister and I, were the only two in all of those people who were not old. You had to be 16 to be put in the jail cell. And we were not put in the jail cell. We were put up there. And we used to lean over the railings and sing with everybody else. And we did this, week after week. And then the longer you did it, the more violent it got to be. Initially, it wasn't as violent, but every week it got to be more and more violent. The police got more violent. They had cow proms. They made sure when they collected you, or they would drag you across the railroad track before they put you in a car. They got fire hoses at a point. And I can remember when they brought the fire hoses out, we had a cousin that had come down from New York to participate in the march. He graduated and moved to New York. He came down, they had the fire hoses out, and he was driving his car. He got out of his car and he pulled my sister and I into the car. So we didn't get sprayed by the fire hoses, but it was just raining down on the car. It was moving, it was so forceful, the water, that it moved the car. And I had a sister who lost her shoes from the water. They just sprayed them right off her feet. It was scary. It was scary, but it was something that made me realize that this has to be very important for people to be so angry. We have to be doing something that's very, very, very important. I didn't even think that way initially. My aunt just told me, you're going to do something in the morning, and I was like, okay. I had no idea that what we were doing was laying stepping stones to something bigger than that small town. And at one point, when we were up, my sister and I, and we were singing "We Shall Overcome," and we were instructed not to stop, always to sing, not to engage in conversation, not to make eye contact, just sing. Well, one day we got a policeman that didn't like the song, I guess. And I'm a 15-year-old girl, and he beat me up with his fist. And he said that next time I say shut up, you will shut up.
So he physically assaulted you with his fist?
With his fist.
And you were 15?
I was 15 years old.
How long did you stay in that? Were you in the courtroom when that happened?
I was in the courtroom. I stayed there, and I think my sister was screaming, and then this other policeman came up the steps, and he was like, "Stop, Bill, stop, stop, stop." And I stayed there until they released everybody. At a certain point, the officials, that were people running the, there was a lawyer there, and there was other people, other adults that would come and get us out of jail. So when they came and they released us, that's when I could go. And I remember them taking pictures. I remember the attorney saying, well, we'll go down to the courthouse with this and da-da-da. And of course they had no policeman named Bill. That's what happened with that. As with most of the things that happened, there was not really a way, not in that town, not at that time, to even try to prosecute someone who had done something, because in their eyes we were the criminals, not them.
That's an amazing story.
But that's and we kept going. We didn't stop. We kept going. Two of my sisters graduated and went on to college, and then my other sister and I, we kept going. And then of course, movements move. So you pick a town and you move. Well, we didn't move. My demonstrations were only in Enfield. They didn't go to Raleigh or anywhere else, but a lot of people did. And when they had the Freedom Riders coming through, families would feed them. And my aunt, of course, would always feed them. If they didn't come to our house, then she took the food to wherever they would be. But that was how they, I guess, sustained themselves on those buses and whatever.
Were these white or black Freedom Riders?
They were both. The buses were mostly integrated.